Hello, this is Music Tech Help Guide. Welcome to episode 24 of my Logic Pro 10 video tutorial series. In this episode, I'm going to kind of pick up where we left off in the previous video and talk a little bit more about flex pitch. There's just a few more things that I wanted to show you before I move on to another topic. So what I've got here is the same singer from the previous video, episode 23. And by the way, if you haven't seen that video first, I highly recommend you watch that first. It's episode 23 in the series because it will make this video make a heck of a lot more sense. So I've got one of the same singers from one of the examples from before, just a different part of the song. So let's listen to what this sounds like.
I know it seems we're always on the run. Let me feel the rhythm of your soul.
All right, so let's go ahead and turn on flex right here. I've already got flex pitch chosen, so I'm going to go ahead and just enable flex right here. And then you can either click on the track, double click on the region to open up the track editor, but you can also just hit E on the keyboard and that'll open up the editors down here. Now, just like we did in the previous video, you can hit Command A to select all of the notes and then adjust the pitch correction over here, or you can do a scale quantize. I wanted to make sure, because this happened to me when I was using flex pitch earlier, occasionally this side panel here won't show up. And if it doesn't, the way you can pull it out is just go up to View and then choose, this will say Show instead of Hide. You say Show Local Inspector, and it'll pull up this side panel here, which is, I guess it's called the Local Inspector. So that's how you pull that up. Now, if you want to make it wider, you just kind of hover over the border up here. It won't work down here. Oh, never mind. It doesn't work down here. Never mind. So yeah, you just hover over the border here and pull it out. So I'm going to go ahead, again, just do a pitch correction here. Just pull this up to 100%. And now all of my notes are quantized to their closest note, or snapping to the closest note. One of the functions that I didn't show you in the previous video was how to separate notes. Occasionally, you'll get a note like this where it has a really noticeable pitch waver from the beginning of the note up to the end of the note. You can see the pitch really goes up and then comes back down. That's pretty characteristic of a note that's actually two notes, not just one note. And Logic has just, failed to identify this as two different syllables or two different notes. If we listen to this, we'll actually hear that this note right here is actually supposed to look and sounds a lot more like here and here. So let's just take a listen to this. So you can hear there's two distinct tones in here. So one thing that we can do to make sure that this note has individual editing controls, we can separate it. And the way we separate it, I'm going to go up to my edit tools up here, and I'm going to choose the scissors tool. Now, one thing to keep in mind is every editor in Logic has its own set of edit tools. So make sure that you're using the track editor tools and not the arrange area tools. So I'm just going, and by the way, this is in case you haven't watched the editing video, this is the command click tool. This is the left click tool. So I'm gonna have to hold command to turn on the scissors tool. So all I'm gonna do is just kind of guesstimate here where I need to separate. I'm gonna just click right here, and it separates the note into two separate notes. And I'm just gonna pull this note up just a little bit. There we go. So now we can see that this is more uniform with what we had going on here and here. All right, so that's how you can separate notes. Another thing you can do is you can merge notes back together. Toward the end here, let's say that we wanted to take this word right here that's got kind of a little scoop in it and get rid of that scoop. What we can do is we can both, we're going to do two things. We're going to have to merge these two notes back together, and then we'll also have to get rid of the pitch drift up to the note B flat here. So right now this sounds just like this.
Of your soul.
So what we can do is I'm just going to pull up this note a half step, drag over both of them, and this time we're going to use the glue tool, which again just merges notes back together. So click on the first note here, and it merges them together. It's also kind of shifted the pitch up a bit. That's okay. I'm just going to pull it back down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to correct the pitch drift here at the beginning of the note. All of the separate notes down here, like I showed in the last video, have these 6 kind of hot zones or hot spots. On the upper left and upper right side, there's 2 options for pitch drift. This is basically just pitch drift in and pitch drift out. So if I pull this up, it's going to kind of reduce the amount of kind of scoop up to that note, and this B flat's gonna more immediately come in rather than kind of being scooped up to. And I'm also gonna simultaneously kind of pull some of the vibrato out as well.
Rhythm of your soul.
Yeah, it sounds a little robotic, but you know, if you're trying to force a singer's voice to do something that, you know, she didn't actually sing, that's one way you can do it. Okay, another function that I didn't show you in the previous video was the gain function. The gain function allows you to individually control the gain or the volume of an individual note or a series of notes. So you can correct notes that are too quiet or maybe too loud. One thing to keep in mind is that when I recorded these vocals, I used a hardware compressor on the input while tracking them. So the dynamics are pretty even across the board. Occasionally, you'll have a vocal recording where a certain word is too quiet or too loud. And you can correct that with plugins. You can correct that with automation or compression. But one way to go in and just shift up or down the gain of a specific just word or syllable in here is to use the gain hotspot. So for instance, let's say that these first few words here are just a bit too quiet compared to the rest of the recording. We can drag over these, and the gain hotspot is located in the lower left corner, and you just pull this up, and we can slightly increase the gain on those notes.
I know it seems we're always on the right.
Now, you obviously don't want to pull it up too much because you're going to have just a really drastic result, and you might end up with clipping.
I know it seems we're always on.
Yeah, so we don't want to do that, but just maybe bumping it up or down just in small amounts can help to correct the dynamics in the recording. Again, here's another perfect example. Pull this up a bit more, just so it's a little more even with what's going on around it.
Is on the run.
And there we go. Okay, I have one more example I want to show you. Normally I would just kind of off-screen this, but I'm just going to go ahead and just do this live. Another thing that you can do with flex pitch is you can actually convert audio data to MIDI data. Now, this is in no way a perfect process. It works better with instrumental material than it does with vocal material. But if we want to convert our audio material to to MIDI notes, so we can figure out what notes are going on in a particular vocal melody or instrumental melody, you can do that pretty easily. And again, it works better with instrumental music or instrumental tracks than it does with vocals. So what I have here is that same synthesizer lead that we used in the previous video. It sounds like this. And I'm just going to turn flex on, choose flex pitch, and then hit E to open it up in the track editor. One thing I'm going to do that we did in the previous video is I'm going to hit Command A, and I'm going to use the time quantize option to quantize to a 16th note, just like we did before. If you remember from the previous video, we had one note here that was a little bit off. There we go. Now, if I want to convert this to MIDI data, so maybe I can layer this with another synthesizer playing the same notes, or maybe use the MIDI data to create harmony, or maybe just try to figure out how to play this. All you have to do is just hit Command A to select all the notes, go up to Edit, and then go down to Create MIDI Track from Flex Pitch Data, and just hit that. And what it'll do, so if you go back to the Arrange window, let me just hide my flex here. And what you'll see is below the original audio track, we now have a software instrument track. And on that track, there is a MIDI region that has the melody that was interpreted from this audio up here. So let me just mute the audio, And by default, it just assigns an electric piano. You can change this to anything you want. But let's see if this actually sounds correct. And there you go. So you can convert audio to MIDI. Now, this only works, as far as I know, this only works with monophonic material. So if you try to drop like a guitar chord on there and convert it to MIDI data, it's not going to work. It's not going to be able to sense every single note in the chord. It only works with monophonic material. So, all right. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I just wanted to create this short video just to kind of wrap up what we had talked about in the previous video. In the next video, we'll take a look at automation. And then after that, we will kind of move on to MIDI and MIDI editing and MIDI programming and things like that. So again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.